Hey guys, tonight we wander through a world where the street smell of wood smoke, the air hums with the chatter of merchants, and the click of carts echoes against a stone walls. You probably won't slice this if by this you mean restings, the sheer witness of how people centuries ago found ways to escape reality. But let's be honest, you came here for a little mental vacation, didn't you? So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And hey, while you're at it, comment below with your location and what time it is where you are right now. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You step into the cobblestone streets of a medieval town. The lamps glow faintly in the foggy dusk, and the scent of brand mingles with something a bit stronger, a little more intoxicating. Everyone seems to have a secret, sometimes a option, sometimes a drink, sometimes a mysterious herb hidden in their cloak. Life in these times is simple, it harsh. Days are long, work is relentless, and the thought of a little escape is almost sacred. You wander past the blacksmith whose hammer strikes the anvil with rhythmic violence, and you notice the tavern sign swinging gentle in the breeze. The drunken griffin, it promises warmth, laughter, and that sweet, hazy relief from the monotony outside. Scholars still argue whether medieval towns so truly understood the chemistry of what they consumed of, or if it was all a lucky accident. Some believe it was pure survival instinct finding ways to soften the edges of life. You might chuckle imagining a peasant sipping an herbal brew and feeling life a king for a fleeting moment. And let's not forget the monks, those ever watchful men cloistered away, meticulously documenting every plant they touch, every extract they create. Some of these sacred concoctions were now to produce light-headedness, a warmth in the chest, a soft laughter that no one outside the Abbey walls could fully understand. You drift down a narrow alley past vendors shouting over one another, and you notice jars of dried herbs, bright Italy colored powders, and oddly shaped roots. Some of these are maiden used for cooking, for minor healing, but a few are whispered about in hushed tones. The bark of certain trees, the flowers of distant lands, even the leaves of humble plants like henbane or mandrake, all have potential. You might think of them as early tickets to a mental vacation, a medieval way to get high before the world even existed. The funny thing is, not every attempt worked as intended. Some herbs produce a gill, Others faint dizziness, and some well let's just you would want afraid to watch you because hallucinations were occasionally involved. You imagine a group of friends gathered in a dim room, passing around a steaming cup of something vaguely floral, worrying about business of angels, or perhaps seeing things that were not there at all. It's about chaotic and oddly charming. Alhouse and taverns, one another form of escapes. The air here is thick with the smell of spilled ale, roasted meat, and a hint of human despair. Softened with laughter, you might find yourself leaning against a wooden table, listening to a bird sing songs of distant let's all the while sipping a drink that packs more than just alcohol. It carries camaraderie, the thrill of bending reality, ever so a slight Italy, and the soft warmth that loosens muscles and minds alike. Scrolls still debate whether moderate intoxication was encouraged or quietly tolerated, but there's no denying the appeal. It's social, it's comforting, and sometimes it's necessary. And while you wander, you notice the streets are alive with tiny secrets. Children play in the corners, unaware of the adult world's methods of mental escape. Travels from far off, let's trade exotic spices and sometimes hedge spices include herbs that tingle the sensation in ways locals had never imagined. You pose to imagine tasting a rare blend, the flower foreign yet thrilling, or mind lightened and your heart quality racing. There's a cheeky humor here. You, in modern times, are now in individual overture of rituals that were both dangerous and delightful. The day gives way to night and shadows stretch lazily over the town. You realize the search for altered states ingenue communes across time and space have always sought ways to shift, perhaps to soften reality's hard edges. You feel a sense of kinship with thoughts, medieval souls, laughing quietly at their clever tricks, marveling at their audacity, and perhaps secretly grateful for your own access to much safer modern alternatives. Even in his early days, the contrast is striking. Some citizens dabble in soft herbs, others indulge in stronger spirits, and a brave few experiment with things. Scholars still debate the safety of. You tiptoe with curiosity and caution, noticing how fear, religion, and culture all shape what is permissible and what is taboo. Every sip, every snip, every mysterious ingredient carries not just sentience but meaning. As you drift along the lanes and listen to the night settle, you understand the medieval mindset. Survival was proteiny one, but mental escape was almost sacred. The human desire for a brief departure from the modern threats through every choice, every potion, every laughter and gasp of delight in taverns. Taverns and abbeys alike. And tonight, as you listen, you are part of that tapestry, wording silently among thoughts who came before, feeling the soft pull of curiosity, laughter, and a touch of the forbidden. You wander into a quiet courtyard, the moonlight spilling softly over a stone walls, and you notice a small wooden table cluttered with curiosity, violets, and jars. The scents hits you first, a mix of floral, earthy, and something faintly bitter that teases your senses. Here lies the heart of medieval herbal experiments, monks, apothecaries, and even wandering hills all debuted and in consonance meant to ease the mind, tickle the imagination, or simply provide a gentle escape from the endless grind of daily life. You peek at a jar labeled spills keys in faded ink and can't help but wonder did it soothe dreams or weeks the drinker into unexpected visions. You pick up a bundle of dried herbs, lavender, sage, and henbane, woven together with care, and imagine grinding them slowly with a mortar and pestle. Henbane, in particular, carries a mischievous reputation. A whisper of it in a tea could induce light headedness, warmth in the chest, and a sense of euphoria that makes you feel weightless but a little too much, and the effects twits into delirium. You grin to yourself, imagining medieval students daring one another to sip the brew, giggling nervously as the world tilts slightly. Scholars still argue whether such herbal escapes were primarily recreational or medicinal, but to you it doesn't matter. It's well, the thrill was undeniable. Beyond the average taverns and kitchens, these herbal brews find their way into daily life. Peasants often traded knowledge, secretly passing down recipes that balanced safety and excitement. You envision a mother brewing a small cup for herself after a day of labor, enjoying the faint euphoria as she rocks her baby to sleep. There's something cheeky about it, tiny acts of rebellion disguised as relaxation. Little joy tucked into the fabric of survival. Even today, the thought makes you smirk. You notice other ingredients, a stranger and more exotic mandrake roots, dried poppy petals, and bits of valerian. Each has a story, a reputation for mystery or Mischief Mandrake, for instance, was believed to scream when uprooted, a belief that adds a layer of legend to its hallucinogenic properties. Imagine carefully harvesting a root while whispering prayers ahead of the myth, yet drawn by the possibility of altered. Perhaps scholars still debate how often these roots were actually consumed was symbolically used, but in your mind you can see the daring few experimenting anyway. Mixi a drink was an art as much as a science. You see a monk carefully measuring drops of laudanum into a cup of warm wine. The fumes curling lazily in the candlelight. A swirl of the spoon, a sip, and a gentle warmth spreads through the body, softening the mind. You can almost hear a life in the quiet. A soft exhales of relief from someone who just spends hours in prayer, study for tiles. Their comfort in that thought, a quiet camaraderie across the century, united by the desire for plating bills. The courtyard itself seems alive with wisdom of the past. You notice tiny inscription on a stone wall, symbols perhaps marking herbal recipes or warning about our indulgence. The medieval world's secret and extract as it appears has these pockets of rebellion of human curiosity, daring to push boundaries. You imagine a wandering traveler exploring here, reading the symbols and feeling a connection to others who showed the same soft joy. Even the most ordinary herbs could become tools for escapes. Chamomile, rosemary, and mint might relax the body or calm the mind, but when paired with a pinch of henbane or a few petals of poppy, the effects depend. You picture yourself as a medieval herbalist, cautiously experiment, scribbling notes in the dim candlelight. The line between medicinal and reactional blurs, and you realize the thrill isn't just in the effect, it's in the process, the ritual of crafting something that shifts, perhaps ever so gently. The social element is just as vital as the herbs themselves. Taverns and kitchens become a spaces where knowledge circulates, recipes, visits across tables once with a week and small doses shared between friends. You feel yourself drawn into these scenes, hearing the quiet laughter, sensing the camaraderie, a little harvey's ad cup, a knowing glass. It's not just chemical, it's culture, emotional, and deeply human. You pause for a moment, imagining a sleepily. Even in a medieval town, the streets are quite expect for the distant laughter of a bird or the soft cleaning of marks inside the home's candlelight. Pictures of over jars of dried flowers and roots. Someone inhales the fragrant steam of a carefully brewed potion and feels a momentary lightens, a reprieve from the weight of labors, taxes, and expectations. You a smile realizing these a small acts of escapes. These herbal brews were both practical and profoundly personal. It's fascinating how ordinary substances gain extraordinary significance when society imposes limits. Herbs are more then plants their keys to soft rebellion, to mental exploration, to brief flights of imagination. You consider how often we overlook the quiet everyday magic around us, focusing us standing on a spectacular event set here in this small courtyard. In the careful heads of monks and mothers lies a soft, persistent human desire to feel a little different, to soften reality, to different for a moment without leaving the world entirely. Scholars still agree whether these herbal practices were more ritual or reaction, but you sense it was probably both, and perhaps that duality is what made them so enduring. You take a deep breath, inhaling the faint mist of lemon sage and the earthy tang of unknown roots, and feel a soft connection across time. These medieval concepts weren't just about the high, they were about imaginations, comfort, and human is unity. And as you step back into the moonlit street, you carry with you a new awareness. The world was vast, hard, and demanding, but humans have always found ways to create moments of gentle rebellion, leads pockets of joy, and soft escapes that linger quality in memory. You push open the heavy oak door of a blasting house, and immediately the air wraps around you like a warm, a slightly sticky blanket. The smell of malted barley, roasted meat, and a hint of something fermented too long mingles in the dim candlelight. You probably didn't expect the sensory overload, did you? Welcome to one of the most popular medieval escapes. Ale house and early spirits here. The legend just a drink. It's a liquid companion for very bodies, a social lubricants, and if communist generality, a gentle vehicle for mental wandering. You find a wooden stool and settle in near the hearth. A frothy mug of ale is placed before you. Its chamber liquid glowing in the firelight. You lift it tentatively and take a sip. The bitterness hits your tongue, but beneath it lies a warmth that creeps slowly through your chest, loosening muscle and causing a soft, almost imperceptible smile. 10 hours over splitted where bounding blood pigeons rubbed elbows with minor merchants, travels, sport tales of distant lands, and every mug passed round carried a whisper of camaraderie. Scholars still argue whether these establishments were primarily for sentence, social bonding, or intoxication, but it's clear to you that all three played their part. Forget once over the painters. A bird smarts a lute in the corner, seeing a story about a people police knight who drank too much mead and wandered into the forest, changing business of dragons and talking goats. You chuckle softly, imagining yourself in his boots, staggering along under the stars. In medieval times, music and alcohol were intertwined in their power towards conscience. One could become dizzy, dreamy, or even euphoric without needing a single exotic herb. Just the combination of melody, chatter, and ferment barley. Of course, not every drinker played by gentle rules. Some patrons pushed limits, gulping down the spirits distilled form. Early methods that weren't exactly consistent in potency. One mug might bring a soft glow, another could trigger dizziness or rustled speech, and yet the tavern continued to thrive as a center for social escape. Imagine the secret thrill in noise that as a ship carried unpredictability, a brush with the edge of sentence. You probably won't dare try this today without caution, but back then it was part of the charm and the hazard. The tavern keeper asked you to man with a mischievous grin for drinks while sharing Weir's expert advice about which concoctions are safe and which are likely to send one spinning into delirium. Her knowledge is passed down over years, sometimes inherited from parents, sometimes learned from traveling merchants who brings tales of distant fruits. You can see the cheeky humor in her warning, and you smile because the medieval mind seems not so different from yours. Always testing, always curious, yes, always seeking a little escape. Early houses weren't just about drinking ether. They were social laboratories where rooms grow, gossip, and advice accumulated as freely as the LA tells you over here. A group discussing a strange new spy rumored to induce vivid dreams, perhaps even business. Someone adds a caution not too much, and you may not sleep at all. Scholars still debate how widespread such experimental mixtures were, but it's clear to you that alehouses were fertile grounds for culinary and chemical curiosity alike. Outside, the moonlight spills across the cobblestones, creating pools of silver in the misty streets. Inside, patrons sway gently to the lute's remarks, cleaning, laughter rising and flowing like a soft web. You can imagine yourself becoming part of this scene, losing track of hours as words spider through your livers and our mind drifts just enough to feel detached. From daily toils, there's a soft human in watching history repeat itself. People centuries ago changing the same comfort, religion, and social joy you might seek today. The drinks themselves were surprisingly very rarely and meat dominated most tables, but distinct spirits were beginning to appear. Of a strong, crude, and unpredictable, you watch a travel carefully, savor a small cup, pinching a slight Italy at the heat, but smelling at the slow mirth that spreads inside even its repents. There's a allure. Scholars still agers whether the risks of these early spirit outweighed their benefits, but for the medieval mind, sometimes a fleeting high was worth the uncertainty. You notice a small side visual stepping marks together for a luck, my mercy short blessing before speaking for or passing around a small herbal infusions to complement the alcohol. It's a fascinating interaction of culture, superstition, and desire for altered state. Every act is deliberate, almost ceremonial, and aired infused with playful curiosity. You can see the lineage of modern cocktail culture. Farming here, humans have always sought the two blood flavors effect and social experience into something greater than the sum of its parts. Even as evening wanes, you linger, orbiting the ebb and flow of conversation, laughter, and the casual cough or a stumble. Elk House, with their smell, sounds, intoxicating consonants, offered medieval people more than just inspiration. They offered reptile camaraderie and a soft, gentle departing from the demands of daily life. And you, in this emerging journey, feel a kinship with them century-old revels. Their escapes were messy, unpredictable, and charmingly human, much like ours would be if you could stay back in time and pour yourself a mug. You take one last slow sleep, letting the warmth settle and glass around at the flickering candlelight reflecting in the marks. The medieval alcoholic house with all its smell, sounds, and soft intoxication reminds you of a timeless truth, immense regardless of ever crave connection, comfort, and the occasional gentle high. The mingles of spirits, music, and laughter create an spring far richer than any one ingredient, and experience that was surface across the just to you, urging you to pause, breathe, and savor the fleeting beauty of a moment suspended in times. Uh, you step out of the house, the crisp night air brings against your cheeks, carrying fat whiffs of roasting chenites and smoke from nearby chimneys. The cobblestones clinch in the moonlight, and you follow a narrow lane toward a small courtyard where you notice a figure crouched over a bundle of dry leaves. This is where medieval cabinets strengthen the story, a plant both mysterious and mildly controversial in its use. You crouch beside the figure, curious, and the faint earthy aroma immediately tickles your senses. People back then didn't have law quite like ours, but social norms and religious restriction except you could use int, and how Cabinis wasn't exactly mystery in medieval Europe, but its uses ranged from medicines to reactional, often depending on one's social status and geographic location. Monks sometimes grew it in monastery gardens, blending it into tinctures meant to soothe pain and sleep for column. Fright nerves, you imagine sipping a mildly infusion, feeling a gentle loosening in or mind as the herbal bitterness coats your tongue. There's a quiet joining that even centuries ago humans discovered nature's tools for mental relaxations. Scholars still agree whether Caminus was widely known outside elite more monastic circles, but the aroma it helps seems to carry a whisper of forgotten practices. You wander through town markets and notice a small pouch of leaf traders districtly among merchants. Some claim its usage Migrants others suspect it sparks creative visions, maybe even mildly euphoria. There's something cheeky about these. Imagine pigeons and artisans quality experimenting with a plant that might shift perception while avoiding the scrutiny of church authority. You can help but grin at the mental image of someone scribbling notes about its effect while trying not to inhale too deeply in a crowded square. Cannabis was also integrated into certain religious and mystical practices, often in ways that blur lines between explicitly ecstasy and sensory escape. You picture an accidental hermit in a shadowed alcove whispering prayers while inhaling smoke from a hidden pipe, seeking business of scales or distant lands. The medieval mind often distinguishes sharply between mind-altering expressions and spiritual relevance. Both are woven into the fabric of life. Scholars still debate whether the primary motivation was spiritual for recreational, but you can feel the thrill of the experimentation in every caution pup. Interestingly, not all uses were subtle. Some festivals and celebrations integrated cannabis, often combined with other herbs or mild spirits to heighten the revelry. You visualize a midsummer gathering, let's run swimming in the night breeze, music vibrating through the crowd and participants laughing, swimming, and sharing small pouches of leaves. There's whimsical quality here, immune seeking escape in community tradition, and the gentle haze of altered perception. You pause to imagine the effect, a softened sense of reality, enhanced awareness of sounds and color, a telling curiosity. Perhaps even gentle laughter at thoughts that normally would cross the mind. The plant influence is subtle, really overlying at unexpectedly project. It's easy to see why it became woven into a small ritual, social exchange and medicine project 16. Even Jacob's Burgeois notes the softening of tension, the quiet smile, the occasional dreaming get into the flaming torchlight. Cannabis in medieval times wasn't without caution. Too much food indication anxiety or nausea, and social consequence existed for our legends. Yet the appeal remained strong. It was a natural way to temporarily lift the weight of daily toil, to explore the edges of conscience without us stepping completely outside expected norms. You can almost hear a merchant whispering to a friend, just a pinch, not more, as they share a small bag of leaves. There's a strange humor in these caution experiments, a playful dance between curiosity and restraint. You wander past a small monastery garden where monks prune plants with the multicultural care. Some of these armor for repson and textiles, but hidden among the greenery are leaves prized for their subtle psychoactive properties. The monks' molecules notes suggest the understudent at least partly the plant's power to calm and elevate the mind. Scholars still argue how intentional these uses were versus incidental, but the careful documentation hits a mixture of curiosity, science, and desire for respite even outside the LT4 special circus cabins. Quality permitted daily life presents and travels might tuck leaves into their shells, brew them in days or mix them with others you imagine. Yourself holding a small cup of such a infusion, filming the worth aspirate as reality response just in to relax the mind but not detach from the world entirely. Its subtle trends and profoundly human early expression of the same desire for fleeting aspects that transcend century. The interplay of culture, ability, and social grounding makes medieval cabinets use a fascinating study. You sense a network of shared knowledge, whispered advice, and caution experiment threading through 8th century for modernist. Gardens to town squares, the plant offered a gentle invitation, a chance to see lifestyle differently through is the mind. And you find brief, delicate pleasure, and as you escape back into the Munshit street, inhaling the faint night air, you carry with you a quiet understanding humans will always short. Wage too soft in reality, sometimes in small pubs, sometimes in great adventures, but always with curiosity, caution, and a touch of wonder. You wander further along the winding streets, the faint glow of torches casting dancing the shadows across steamers blending ahead. Yeah. A small apothecary style towards your attention, struck high with sacks of dried petals, pouches, and oddly shaped pots. Here lies one of the more intoxicating and controversial medieval accepts opinion and poppy beds convince the sweets a slightly bitter aroma wafts you toward you, almost daring you to pause, inhale, and imagine what it might feel like to sip a warm potion distilled from these delicate flowers. Poppies were cultivated widely and their uses were both medicinal and recreational. You can picture a very person nursing a cup of poppy infused wine after a long day, feeling a gentle drowsiness seep through every muscle. Pain is worries drift and the mundane world softens just enough to let the mind wander. Scholars still agree the opinion was more commonly employed as medicines for or for subtle pleasure, but to you it's clearer the lines blur delightfully the very same flower that each a flavor could cause a light euphoria, a tiny rebellion against relentless toil. As you linger, your eyes catch a small wild marks laden, a tincture made by steaming poppy lectures in alcohol. Imagine carefully measuring a drop or two into a cup of wine, the small words of the liquid complementing the slow rise of gentle projection. There's a cheeky humor in it. You are in the middle. Agents speaking something pointed at security, playing both clever and dangerously indulgent. It's easy to see why merchant travels and even some monks kept small stores for personal use. Balancing curiosity with caution, poppy use was not limited to alcohol. Teach sips and even baked goods, sometimes integrate its extracts, offering varied effects depending on preparation. You can picture a child quality styling a tasty of a sweet and sweet eyes, widening in surprise ways warmth spreads and the world softness. The medieval images was vividly advantage with their experimentation, and while some uses were practical, others quality lead into the fluid and the format. Scholars still wait whether famous Molinal were socially seconds, but hits in diaries and letters suggest they were quality enjoyed often under a wheel description. You move past the apothecary imaging conversion between pedals and herbalistic, just a drop and Orius X will melt away and serve not you too much or you'll dream the day away. Others on earth interplay between knowledge, caution and daring improvements is almost delightful. It's a dance of curiosity that mirrors on your feminism wanting to experience just a touch of something forbidden night or the bounding is profile. Opinion and poppies also carried symbolic weight. The were leaks to sleep. Dreams and visions often entwined with mysticism or religion as practice. You imagine a monk in a cold curiosity speaking a mild preparation as contemplates the heavens that is tincture enhancing his meditative state without pushing him to further matrix heavens. The teacher enhances his meditative state without pushing him to forward. That a subtle humor in picturing things. Figures astoundingly dedicated to divine service, quietly seeking gentle escape with a sip of poppy wine. The effect you realize were as varied as the people consuming the some felt as enjoyed the arts experiment lightened or a dreamy has its dipping to picture a medieval festival where minor intoxications with poppy conscience mingled with music and dancing, offering a slowly extrapolable, almost magical pause in the realms of daily life. You might chuckle imagining a group of villagers exchanging secret recipes for poppy drinks while a bird plays softly in the background. Even the preparation was part of the allure, grinding seeds, spreading petal, and carefully measuring tickets, reward attention, and ritual. You picture yourself as a medical apprentice taking meticulous notes while inhaling the pen, and feeling a quiet thrill as you experiment the sheer duality. Here, pleasure in time and with knowledge dispelled with curiosity. Scholars still debate the extent to which this was reactional versus extremely medicinal, but the overlay pose overlay is undeniable. The social and cultural context shaped how popular habits, substances were used. Nobility sometimes enjoyed subtly old wines while commoners sought relief from eggs or insomnia. The common thread is cleaner. Women of Scots class and geography were drawn to gentle mind alternating expressions. There's a soft universality in this a thread containing you with centuries of people exploring the delicate line between sustenance and restaurant. You step back onto the monolith, carrying the font aroma of poppage, feeling a quite admirers for the unity of medieval experiments. These early experiments were more than substances, they were tools, toys, and tiny rebellions. And as you wonder, you can help but smile at the enduring immense desire for escape, curiosity, and the subtle thrill of touching another step of mind, even for just a fleeting moment. You find yourself wandering to the edge of a sleepy village where a small circle of friends gather around a flickering fire. The air is crisp, crystal glimmer above, and the gentle crackle of wood mixes with soft laughter. Here you realize the mythical pursuit of ultra status was often social yet sad experience of harvest formatted rings subtle interconnections and quiet experiments humans have always so UGHT these soulmates together and the connection itself becomes part of the escapes. They ups around small cups of here saying a hit of coffee or the instead of the hearts you take one feeling the water sport slowly on hard and notice how the communal atmosphere amplifies the effects storage and tumble from one person to the next growing taller more particles proved by imagination and slight inspirations you probably won't survive this same night without careful moderns buds and to reach ago these gatherings where strangers peaceably because the balance and curiosity, joy and camaraderie with caution scholars still debate how much was medicinal versus reactional but that laughter and soft wisdom say it all as the even dipping someone producer a small bundle of dried mushroom and a tiny vial of an herbal infusion. You imagine tasting a tiny piece of each, flaming perhaps sun subtly shift colors, softening sounds, stretching gently. The effect is delicate, playful, and mesmerizing. Not overwhelming, but enough to let you drift into dream-like a state without leaving the firelight. Your companions, the medieval mind you see was a careful explorer of schedule Manasir was reactional, but the laughter and soft worship it all. As the evening dips, someone produces a small bundle of giant mushroom and a tiny viral was a careful explorer of the resource knowing just how far to push for delight without danger. The convention reflects towards tales of magic, legends, and mischief. First, you notice how each encoded feels hidden for more between more standing under the influence of subtle evocations, even ordinary herbs or lightly spices. So how spices whispers him spices wine elify imagines making every shadow flipper and whispers him more profound scholars still agree whether such storytelling was international or a byproduct of mild herbal highs, but you feel the magic personally, the martial laughter and gentle almost alteration of perhaps combined to form a soft mist escape. You lean back on the grass, inhaling the mingled scents of earth, fire, and herbs. The night air feels heavier with comfort, light with imagination. Somewhere a lute flash separately blending with the crackling fire and distant wind. These sensory layers combined with mild intoxication create a mental space here where reality bets just enough to let the mind wander freely. There is a cheeky thrill in knowing that people centuries ago enjoyed in the same deserts to relax, to explore conscience, and to share fleeting moments of wonder without consequence. And then, as the embers fade, and the group grows quiet, the magic of the night gently settle into your bones. You feel a connection across time to herbalist, monks, alchemists, rebels, and villagers alike. All so UGHT give Gispert highs, gentle escapes, and imaginative flight. It's not the insanity of modern intelligence, but the advancing, the careful balance, and the playful curiosity that makes it during the world around you. Slows the moon cast silver shadows across the sleeping village. The scape of the harbor scene lingers, the water of the fire estimate hummus in memory, and the faint echoes of laughter fade into the soft hum of night. You realize that medieval exhibits weren't just about sentence that were about ritual combination. Imagine then the timeless human desire to soften reality even just for a few hours. You let your mind drift in this quiet just notice the faint pulse of the earth beneath your foot and the gentle rhythm for your breath. Every story you are encountered tonight, every tasted instant and sound conversion into the tapestry of calm wonder and soft delight. Scholars still debate the exact practices, but you know the truth. Humans in every era have always found ways to touch the extraordinary, to glimpse the unusual, and to craft flaming pockets of those George amidst ordinary life. Now was the village place, and the night wraps around you like a warm blanket, and your mind softens, your body relaxes, and your thoughts drift like a smoke in the moonlight. You carry the subtle magic of century past into your own quiet moment, feeling lighter, calmer, and gently lured towards rest and hope, a script, sweet dreams. And thanks for watching.